This video is sponsored by HP OmniBook 5, powered by the Snapdragon X Plus processor. In this video, I'm going to show you my top 5 chess openings for beginners, because it's really important when you're a beginner to know what to do in the beginning of the game. If you go into a chess game and you have no idea of what's going on, you're going to feel very uncomfortable and you're going to spend a lot of time playing in the beginning and you're probably going to get a bad position. So knowing different openings or different systems just to get the beginning of the game started, I think is really important at any level, but especially when you're a beginner. So I'm going to show you my top 5 recommendations for if you are a beginner. The first opening I'm going to recommend to you is the Sicilian opening, which goes like this. After e4, you reply with c5. And now when the pawn is on c5, this is the Sicilian opening. Now this might be a bit of a controversial opinion because many people say that the Sicilian opening is not for beginners. You have to be really good at chess to play it, etc., etc. I actually really heavily disagree with that opinion because I think there's a lot of different reasons for why the Sicilian is good as a beginner. And that's why I always recommend it to beginners. I'm recommending it to you. I truly believe that this is really good for a variety of different reasons. But let's talk about what the reasons are behind the Sicilian opening. So the reason we go c5 is because we are right now defending this d4 square. We're right now preventing white from playing d4, which is what white typically wants to do. Typically as white, you want to go e4, d4, and just grab all the center as possible, just because then you're able to really control the whole game. But c5 is a move that right now kind of prevents white from going d4, because if white goes d4 now, we will take this pawn, and if they take back with their queen, this is not good for white because we're able to bring our knight out with a tempo, with a turn, with an extra turn, because we're forcing now white to move their queen. At the same time as we're developing a piece, we're also going to be able to develop this knight, and we're going to be having 2 developed pieces. And look at this, white just doesn't have a single piece out yet apart from the queen. So this would not be good for white. So typically white tries to go d4, but does so with the knight over here, so that after d4, you can, when we take, they can take back with the knight. Now this d4 idea is typically the most ambitious idea for white. This idea with knight over here in d4 is called the open Sicilian, and this is what most people will play. But I also think that depending on the level you're playing at, if people don't really know what to do against the Sicilian because they haven't faced it a lot of times, then I really think that they might not even go for this. They really might go for something like bishop c4, just get their knights out, go d3. Like, I don't think they will know that that they should go for d4. The only other, or only, but you know, the other main way that people can play is with the close Sicilian, is what we call it. And that is when white goes for knight c3. And a lot of times they'll go for something like f4. And then the idea becomes a bit more to attack the king. But I'll quickly show you a little bit what to do then. That's not really anything to be afraid of either, in my opinion. I've played the Sicilian for literally 15 years, so I feel very comfortable in this opening. So let's say that they go knight f3. Here I'm going to recommend to you to go e6. And the reason for this is because if white does not go d4, I think that you can just simply go d5. And this becomes a very, I think, intuitive opening. Like, let's say white would go here, then I think we can go d5. And now if takes and takes, we have this whole center, which is really nice. And if white wouldn't take their, let's say that they would go something like e5, this wouldn't be any good, because after something like knight c6, then this pawn is going to become quite weak. With the pawn on c5, we're also making it very hard for white to ever defend this pawn with d4. And some ideas will just simply be to go knight e7, get a knight up to g6, maybe go queen c7, threaten this pawn, and it's not going to be easy to defend it for white. So d5, I mean, maybe you can wait here a little bit. You can start by going something like knight c6 and then go d5. But in general, d5, I think, is just a really nice idea to have. There's a saying in the Sicilian that if you're able to play d5, you've already equalized pretty much. But you want to go d5 typically when you're able to recapture with this e-pawn. Now, before we continue with the Sicilian opening, learning different chess openings might sound very difficult, but it becomes a lot easier with an amazing laptop. So let me introduce to you the sponsor of this video, HP OmniBook 5, powered by the Snapdragon X Plus processor. This is an amazing tool for both studying and playing chess. As a chess content creator, it is crucial for me to have a laptop that is both powerful enough to be able to edit videos on it, but also light enough to be able to bring everywhere. This laptop has both. With a Snapdragon X Plus processor, it can run up to 45 trillion operations per second, meaning that I can edit videos on it, run chess programs, and use it for video calls at the same time. This AI PC has an AI engine called an NPU, which stands for a Neural Processing Unit, integrated into a Snapdragon X Plus processor. This offers higher performance and energy efficiency in AI and machine learning tasks. It also has 34 hours of battery life, meaning that you can rest assured that you'll be able to use it for a very long time before needing to charge it. And on top of that, it's super portable. It fits both in my regular handbags and also in my backpacks. I always run around with a ton of tech equipment, which means that the weight of the laptop is really important for me, as if it's too heavy, it'll literally hurt my back. This laptop is the perfect size. And the crème de la crème, as I call it, is that it has a beautiful OLED display, which makes using the laptop such a pleasant experience. I mean, to be honest, playing chess on a very nice display is so much more enjoyable than on a bad one. And don't even get me started on watching movies or videos. If you're watching this video right now on an OLED display, you'll know exactly what I mean. So if you want to get this amazing laptop, check out the link in my description. Thank you so much HP OmniBook 5 for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the best chess openings. Let's say instead of the open Sicilian, they would go for this move all the way over here, they would go knight c3. Here, I think we can go knight c6, and if they go for f4, we're gonna go for a g6, and we're just simply gonna fianchetto the bishop, place it over here to have this bishop be closer to the king, so that it's not, out doing their own thing over there. No, the bishop is gonna be close to the king, and now sometimes the idea for white becomes to go bishop c4, but we just go bishop g7, and then we're gonna go e6, knight e7, and d5 once again. So these are kind of the ideas with the Sicilian opening. Obviously, this is a very broad overview. I can make a whole 30-minute video about the Sicilian. Let me know if you want me to do that at some point. And then I'll go a lot more in detail on the actual move order. But here's just to have a few ideas of the moves to do and a few ideas of the plans. Typically, the ideas will just be, like I said, go c5, and then if they go d4, you take the pawn, you try to get your pieces out, you can go for this little trick, and otherwise you can also try to go e6 and d5 in certain moments. So yeah, that's the Sicilian opening. Let's go for opening number 4, the one that's on 4th place, and that is the Slav opening. I think it's important for beginners to know what to do against 1d4. I always see people talking about what to do against 1e4, and I wanted to give you something that I think is good if you're a beginner against 1d4. So d4, d5, if now white plays the queen's gambit, c4, they're gambiting this pawn, I recommend for you to defend your central pawn with this move c6. The idea of the Slav defense is that you're right now playing this c6 move to defend this d5 pawn, but you're doing so in a way where this bishop is able to be out in the open. And for me, this is a big issue with a lot of openings where you quickly go e6, is that this bishop just becomes so bad. And I think as a beginner, it's really important to understand where all your pieces should go to. Like, this is the square for the knight. This bishop should go somewhere here. This is the square for the knight. I think it's important for beginners to understand where to put their pieces. And so, yeah, to me, it makes a lot more sense to play something like c6 to be able to get this bishop out, because you need all your pieces. They're part of your team, You need all your pieces. So now you're defending this pawn. If white will take, then you will just simply take back and you'll be very happy. This knight will go out over here. You'll get your bishop out to either f5 or g4, depending, if the knight is over here, maybe you go over there to pin the knight. You'll go e6, get your little bishop out, and then castle. Lots of arrows right now, but does that make sense? So typically taking is not really something to be worried about in any single way. So now most of the times white will go for something like knight c3. And if they go knight c3, Now, the main variation of the Slav is to take this pawn on c4. And that's also the reason for why I really like this opening, is because the idea becomes very simple. One, you've opened up for this bishop, but two, now, if they're not careful, if white is not careful, you're just simply going to win a pawn. Your idea is that if they do random stuff, you're going to go b5, you're going to be a pawn up, and you're going to be happy. And it's actually really annoying to play against this, in my opinion. I typically, with white, try to avoid giving up this pawn because it can actually become pretty stressful. So here also, if they go e3 or e4, you will go b5 to defend this pawn. And yeah, this is really nice. I mean, if they go something like bishop e2, you'll just simply go e6. You'll get your knight out. You'll get your bishop out. You'll castle. You'll go a6 maybe at some point. And here, if they go something like a4, the only thing you need to be aware of is to not blunder. So to not go a6, because now after takes, pawn takes, there's this idea of knight takes b5, which you cannot take back because of this pin. So the only thing you need to be aware of is that if they would go for a move such as a4 here, you just simply go for the move b4, you threaten this knight, and it's not really so easy for white to see where to go. I mean, if the knight goes here, then this pawn is not under attack anymore. You know? You can simply develop. And if the knight goes somewhere here, well, sure, they're going to get this pawn back, but white's pieces are a little bit in, I think, a strange position, which I think just makes it quite easy for white to go wrong. I mean, here we can just go e6, defend this pawn, and then after takes, we'll simply develop the knight, and that's it. And now this knight is in a weird position, and I don't think it's so easy for white to play. On third position, we have the Italian opening. What would a beginner video be without the Italian opening? I mean, it is the OG beginner opening for a reason. From the age of 4 to the age of 10, this was everything that I played with white. I played the Italian opening a million times. Then my mom showed me the beauty of 1d4, and then I never went back. But that's a different story, okay? I am a 1d4 player. But 1e4, I think this is really just the most classic beginner opening. It goes e4, e5, and the idea is that after you go knight f3 and black defends the pawn, we place this bishop on c4. And I think the reason this is just nice as a beginner is because, once again, all the pieces are in squares that make sense. This bishop is on a square that makes sense. It's looking towards the king. This knight is towards the center. We're gonna castle, and I'm gonna show you just a little bit how a game can go, because I think it just makes a lot of sense. So here black, for instance, can go for a move like bishop c5, and we are gonna go c3. And the reason we're gonna go c3 is because we wanna, in a certain moment, go d4. Look at this amazing center. I mean, if black does something random and we're able to do something like this and get our knight out, just look at this amazing opening and position that we've gotten. That is incredible. So that is not really that good. So a lot of times here, black will go knight over here to threaten this pawn, so that now we can't really go d4 because, well, then this pawn is going to become a little bit weaker. Technically we can, but it's not a move that as a beginner I would recommend right now. I think it's much easier to go d3, defend this pawn. Now after castles, and something like d6, the idea becomes to, at some point, just go rook e1, defend this pawn, and then go d4. And then you just get a beautiful center. You know, your bishop might go up over here to g5, pinning the knight. You might go a4 and then go b4, and you just basically play on all sides of the board, and you just get a very nice center. And in my opinion, this is just so much easier to play for white than black. I mean, yeah. I think that this is just a really, really nice opening. And as you can see, this move c3 is actually in this position really good, not just because we're threatening to go d4, but also because it prevents this knight from ever coming up to d4. Sometimes it can be annoying if black gets a pin over here and gets a knight up to d4. Now, black doesn't get that anymore. So the Italian opening, I think, is in general a great opening. You should also look at it a little bit more in depth if it's something that you'd want to do and play more in general. But yeah. It's a classic for a reason. On second place, we have the one and only Caro-Kann opening, which goes like this: e4, c6, and now when white goes d4, which is what we know, the thing that white always wants to do typically, then we go d5. I mean, the idea of going c6 is that we are going to be going d5 at some point. And this is, a little similar to what I was showing you before with the Slav. It's just that with the Slav, the other pawn is over here. And in this one, the pawn on e4 is over there. But I wanted to pick openings that kind of work, kind of together in the sense that you kind of understand them. If you understand one, you kind of understand them. Does that make sense? So c6, we're defending right now this pawn. And yeah, the idea is that if they take here, this is called exchange variation in the Caro-Kann. I think this becomes really easy to play. We get our knights out, we get our bishop out, we go e6, we get the other bishop out over here on this diagonal. And this, I think, becomes really nice and comfortable to play. Let me just, show you what I kind of mean, just so you can a little bit see it. Just, something like this. Get this bishop over here. We got all our pieces in a good square. There's no cheap tricks for white, nothing like that. So the exchange Caro-Kann, I don't really think is anything to really be too worried about because you're just able to get all your pieces out very nicely. Now, I think what's a little bit more important to know is what to do if now white decides to push this pawn. And here's the thing, if white would just simply go something like knight over here, we can just take. And after white takes, we just develop our bishop. And now this bishop that so many times becomes a horrible piece in so many openings is actually a really good piece here. So if they would go instead for this move e5, this is, I think, the most crucial thing to know what to do. And here, I'm going to recommend a line that, the main line here is just simply to get the bishop out and just go bishop f5, get your bishop out, be happy that you got this, bishop that otherwise is really bad out. It's bad because all these pawns are in light squares, which means that they're on the same color of squares as this bishop, which means that the bishop has less movement around here. So if we would go e6, this bishop would literally become the worst bishop of all time. All right, the bishop has no place it can go to. It's completely stuck. So bishop f5 is also a really good move. It's the most standard move, but here I'm actually going to recommend the move c5. And the reason for it is because I think the ideas are really a lot easier to understand. We're right now putting a lot of pressure on the d4 pawn. And so many times white will simply go knight f3, and here we will, go knight c6. And now let's say that they just kind of keep going. They just go for something like this. Now ideas such as bishop g4 can become really good because you're kind of forcing white to take here, as otherwise it's going to be hard to defend this pawn. So yeah, here you can see that, I mean, it's easy actually for white to even blunder the pawn, because if they ever go something like h3, we can just eliminate this piece that is defending that, and then we can just take here. Either with the knight or with the pawn is even better. So yeah, this would just be really, really good. So actually, after going c5, the best move for white is, or the main move actually, is for white to take on c5. This is one of the very main moves. And it looks a bit counterintuitive because white has this beautiful center, and now they're kind of giving it away. So now the idea is that this is the only time kind of that we're gonna close down this bishop, but here we're gonna go e6. And we're right now threatening to take back this pawn. But the thing is that because this pawn is gone, because there's no pawn here anymore, this bishop is not as bad because there's more ways where we can at some point try to get a bishop over here, push up this pawn, and then have a fantastic bishop on this diagonal. So the bishop is not as hopelessly closed as in other positions with the pawn being here where it's really stuck. So here, if white goes for something like b4, which looks really natural to defend this pawn, this is actually not such a good move because we're gonna go a5. Now threatening to take here. And if white now goes a3, well, this would just simply lose a pawn for them because after takes, they cannot take back, as then the rook is hanging. And if they would instead defend with the c3 pawn, we're going to take here anyways and now go for the move b6. And b6 is really strong because if they take back, we can go bishop takes pawn. This is with check. Now this pawn is hanging as well. We're going to be able to take it with the queen. And yeah, this even though it's just going to be equal pawns, this would be better for us because we've just developed more pieces. This king is a little bit up in the open. This pawn is quite weak. We got all our pieces working really well right now, and we're only a couple steps away from castling. So this would be quite a big advantage for black here. So that's the Caro-Kann. Like with any opening, I can give you a whole video on it. I kind of want to give you like 20 opening videos now because I'm going so briefly about each one. But it's just to give you the main ideas of why you would want to play an opening. And now we're going to the podium plays, the #1 best opening to play as a chess beginner. And that, everybody, in my humble personal opinion, is the cow opening. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, just a joke. I'm sorry, I had to. It's just a joke. It's not my top 1 pick, but just a joke. Okay, not the cow opening. I wish it was though. But my #1 pick for you as a beginner, this might not come as a surprise, but it is the London opening. And the reason it's recommended in every single video for beginners and every single book and every single everything is because it's a system that you can always play on and on and on and on and on. You can always play the London opening and you're always going to get a very similar position and you're always going to understand it because it's a system, which means that it's not that you have to memorize a bunch of moves. It's more that you just kind of had to understand where to place your pieces, which is for me, like I said, what I think is the most important thing as a beginner. Now, what I also really like about the London opening is that it starts with 1d4, which is where my sweet soul is. I love 1d4. So d4, and after d5, the London opening is going bishop f4. So the idea of going bishop f4 is that this is a very nice active place for the bishop. The bishop is pointing towards this really open diagonal, and the London opening, listen to this, it always goes like this, okay? You're always going to be having the same setup, which is that you're going to create this little triangle of pawns. Your center is going to be super reinforced. If they ever take here, you take with the e pawn. Your center is going to be super reinforced, and you know, there's no way where they can trick you in the opening. Like, they're not going to trick you in the opening. You know, sure, is this going to be a long game and, you know, whatever? Sure, but you're not going to get tricked in the opening. You're just going to be fine. So I really think that just having this as a safe, you know, opening to play against anyone just when you want to feel nice and safe and know that nothing can go wrong, I think it's great. So the idea here is that you're going to place this knight on d2. You're going to go bishop d3. You're going to castle. So let me just like give you a few moves. So here we're going to go knight d2. We're going to go bishop d3. I don't know what black is going to do. We're going to castle. And this is going to be the setup. And then we're going to play with a bunch of different ideas. I mean, yeah, sometimes here, black will try to go c4, and then we'll go bishop, you know, c2. And in positions like this, we might go queen over here and then try to go e4 and open up the position like this. You have this amazing square for your knight that you can go to sometimes. A lot of times you also want to go h3. You want to push up this pawn a little bit because this bishop is a great bishop that you don't really want to get rid of. So you want to make sure that if knight h5, that you have a place to retreat. So going h3 is a really nice way of being able to retreat your bishop. And the thing is also that, you know, with this setup, we see that all our pawns are in dark squares. That means that this bishop is typically the most disastrous bishop of all time when it's stuck here on c1. However, with the bishop on f4, this bishop actually becomes really good, and it's very active, and it's controlling this whole diagonal. So we've made a really bad piece actually a good piece. So that's also one of the great things about the London opening. So in the London, after, you know, d4, d5, and bishop f4, some people might go c5. This is the most active way of playing against the London, in my opinion. This is what I play with black. And now we're simply going to go e3. Like always, we're going to defend this pawn. And now, after black goes something like knight c6, we're simply going to go knight f3. Okay, there's different ways you can play. You can also in this position go c3. You can also in this position, you know, wait a little bit with knight f3. But knight f3, I think, is completely fine. And after knight f6, no, we can go knight bd2, c3. It doesn't matter. We can go knight bd2 first. And then we're going to go c3. This is always going to be our position. If the bishop goes up to d6 instead, we can just simply retreat. A lot of people will say, Anna, isn't this like bad for me? Like, isn't this annoying? Here, we want to take with the h-pawn. This is not unsafe for the king at all, actually. This is really safe for the king. Even if, you know, we castle short side, this is completely safe. Here, we're going to go something like bishop d3. Actually, we can even wait a little bit here with castling maybe, because we can try to get some stuff going against this pawn. But if they go h6 or something like this, we can also just simply castle. And this is very, very, very safe because there's not really any way for black to like enter and try to attack our king. Everything is completely safe. So even, like I said, even if there's these double pawns work really well with each other. If you take over here, well, then we're going to take with the e-pawn like always, because we want to make sure that this knight can't come up to b4 at any point amongst different things. But this is just more solid to take like this. We also have ideas of going knight over here, maybe knight c5 at some point. We might go queen e2 and knight e5. There's a lot of different ideas in the London system, but I really think that the London is the best opening for a beginner in chess. I think you play the London with white, the Caro-Kann with black, the Slav. You know, if you want to play a bit of a different kind of chess, a bit more dynamic, you play the Sicilian. And then, you know, you can also, if you want to play the Italian with white. I think all the openings that I showed you today are a great repertoire for a beginner. And the more openings you play as a beginner, the more different chess positions you're going to learn. And the more you understand different chess positions and how you should think and how the pieces move in certain different moments, you will understand the game of chess much better and you will improve as a player significantly. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you've learned something. Let me know in the comments what your favorite chess opening is and what you play right now. And, you know, I've been making videos for so many years, but I've actually never made my top openings video, I think. This is my first time. So I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to tell you what my top 5 picks are. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you so much, HP OmniBook 5, for sponsoring the video. I'll see you all in my next one. Bye-bye.